that your marketing could be growing your business a lot faster, but you can't quite figure out how to get it to give you that steady, predictable stream of leads and income for your business. It's not your fault. The marketing industry is set up to sell you on services before result, to bombard you with hype about the latest marketing tactic and trend that you should try, when what you really need is a custom, holistic, data-driven strategy that takes into account your unique brand, business, and opportunities. Just try going to any website vendor and ask them how to incorporate video. They're not going to know what to tell you. They're not designed to give you that comprehensive strategy. Marketing services providers are going to put you through a maze of tactics and strategies that are designed to make them money doing what they know how to do and isn't necessarily designed with your business's unique needs in mind. You and your business deserve data-driven guidance from an unbiased marketing leader who prioritizes your goals over vendor agendas. So imagine having a clear strategy designed with data to give you sustainable growth. You can have that just by joining the Boss Up Marketing Club. It's an 8-week mastermind brought to you by Marketing Boss, and it's designed to transform your marketing approach and accelerate your business's growth. We're going to show you where to find data, show you simple ways to analyze it so that you never have to be duped by another marketing report designed to make you believe that something is working when it's really not. You will learn to develop a marketing plan, a sales strategy, and use automation to grow your business in this 8-week mastermind designed to make bossing up your marketing simple. We're going to meet virtually for 1 hour each week and provide you with short, impactful lessons that are going to equip you with the marketing fundamentals that every business owner needs to know. Each week, we're also going to dedicate time to a dynamic live discussion where you can bring real marketing challenges to the table and we can discuss them as a group. This segment is designed for you to share real questions and get real answers in the context of a community that we're building. It's like having a fractional CMO by your side with the added benefit of being a part of a community of business owners just like you, engaging in thoughtful discussions, sharing experiences, and making more money. Your vision deserves expert support. So take the next step, and I'll see you at the mastermind.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Boss Up Mastermind Live. That promo said that you have to sign up. Well, guess what? You don't. We switched it up, and you get to enjoy this mastermind live. I hope that you're in a good space to take some notes because today's going to be fun. We're going to talk about data analytics. And before I jump into today's lesson, I am going to invite a special guest. Adriana is here with us. Adriana Cardenas. Woo-hoo. She's part of the Marketing Boss team. She's a project manager, and she's going to be here so that I'm not all by myself and to ask questions that you might be thinking about as you're watching this. She's really good at asking questions. That's why she's so smart. So in the Boss Up Mastermind, as you probably watched in the video, we really want to walk you through some practical tips as a business owner that you can implement as a business owner so that you can actually monetize your marketing. And so I'm going to share my screen here in a little bit and walk you through today's lesson. And I'm also going to give you a recap of what the first lesson was about, just to kind of tie things together. If you weren't here for the last live, you can definitely watch it. It was streamed live just like this. So you can go back into the social media feed and check it out. As a reminder, our objective, the whole reason for all of this is we want business owners to feel good about how they're growing their business. And we do have a complimentary app that you can download with lots of resources. Some of them we're going to be actually talking about today. They're free. They're on the app. Get them. You can download it, Apple, Android, whichever type of device you have. You can download it. And if you don't have any of those devices, you can actually go to the web, and we have a web-based version of the app as well. Also, if you want us to do any sort of one-on-one work with you, if you're watching this and you're like, I would love for Margarita to just give me some advice, you can actually fill out a form that is also in our app where we'll ask you some questions about you, about your business, about your goals, and give you some customized advice. Real quick recap. In week 1, we talked about researching your market, identifying who your real competition is based on who shows up next to you online, who shows up next to you on the TV spots that you're running or billboards, because that's who your real competition really is. And then we talked about some data tools that you can use so that you know your numbers. You use Google Analytics, you can use Lead Docket or Go Legal Flow and a bunch of other software out there that you can pick from to track where your leads are coming from and what's happening with those leads. And then you can use CallRail and SEMrush as well. Lots of tools, lots of ideas of how to use them from the last lesson. I'm just kind of skimming through today. And we talked about key terms like reach, frequency, conversions, and lifetime value that really you need to understand. Okay, now in week 2, we're going to talk about how to go from marketing to sales. What a novel idea, right? You spend all this money to advertise your law firm, your business, and you want to translate that into sales. Well, how do you make the connection? If you talk to any sort of traditional media person, they're going to say, just trust the process, invest your money, wait 3 to 6 months and see what happens. I say no. I say that you can find out sooner if you analyze certain data. And you're probably thinking, okay, well, website metrics, Google My Business, social media, leads, these are all digital media. And you're probably thinking, well, how will these help me measure what's happening with traditional media? And I have an answer for that. There are definitely ways that you can use these tools to understand what's going on with other media that are not these tools. Adriana, does that make sense? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Explore the possibilities. So where do you learn how to do this stuff? I think this is important. You need to know that I didn't just wake up one day, watch a bunch of YouTube videos and decide that to call myself a CMO. I actually got a lot of training in data analytics and in really understanding how the value of data is as good as the methodology from Nielsen Media Research. So some things that I learned at Nielsen that I want to share with you, that will give you context as I'm explaining this data is people lie or they don't remember where they saw you. So funny story, true story. When I was at Nielsen back in the day, during what it feels like the time of the dinosaurs, I am of age, there were these diaries. And it was such a big lesson for me because pretend this is one of those diaries. You go through the diaries and then we'd see like, oh, so-and-so put in their diary that at 6 a.m. they watch this news station. These were the call letters. And then, they would write down information about what they watched. And half of the time, like it wouldn't match. Like it would say they watched a specific station and then the show wouldn't match the station. So that's an example of people lie or don't remember. And when I say people lie, like it's not that they do it on purpose. It's just they kind of don't remember. Sometimes they do lie though. This I've learned auditing law firm data. Sometimes you ask people, how did you hear about us? And they might be shy to admit that they saw you on a TV commercial or that they heard you on the radio and my friend referred me. So those are some examples to keep in mind, okay? As you're looking at your data, keep in mind what methodology you're using to gather data. So the methodology is going to determine the accuracy. If you're relying on, well, so how did you hear about us? And you're writing that down, that's probably not the most ideal way. It's better than nothing. I encourage you to do that. But you really want to consider what are called passive methodologies. What's a passive methodology? A passive methodology is you decide to put up a billboard and you decide to put a specific number on that billboard, like phone number. So if they call that phone number, they're calling it because they somehow at some point saw it on that billboard. That's going to be passive because you don't have to rely on the person to say where they saw you. They called you from that number, so you can safely assume. So I like to use a combination of both, okay? So these numbers that you gather, the data that you gather about how people learned about you, it's going to give you clues and it's going to give you a story of how they're experiencing your brand, and it's going to help you understand what's working, what's not working, and how it's working. So just a couple of things to think about. So when it comes to your business data, however, okay, think about how accurate is your data? How accurate is your interpretation of the data? Now, Adriana, if I tell you, go look at your website so that you can understand if your TV commercials are working, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, not really.
Yeah, exactly. It's okay to say no. It's okay to say no. Because we're tempted to say, well, if I'm looking at my website and I see clicks on my website, then that came from my website, not TV, right? Mm-hmm. So how accurate is your interpretation of the data is going to involve some creativity. Because if you know about marketing and you've been around as long as I have in this space, you know that people have multiple touch points that take them to that decision. For example, picture yourself the last time that you were in the market for whatever, right? You probably went online and Googled something. And then, I don't know, maybe you ended up on Amazon like me. And then let's say you were looking for pants, okay? And you were looking on Google, and then that led you to Amazon, and then that led you to see a bunch of pants on Amazon. And then all of a sudden you see a pair of pants by Spanx. And you're like, oh, I want to buy Spanx. Like, you gravitate toward that. Part of that is because that brand has built a brand. They've built recognition. So at some point, you must have interacted with that brand somewhere else. Maybe you saw Sarah's social media. Maybe you saw an ad on some sort of like print place or whatever, right? You might have seen some sort of marketing in the past that led you to then make that choice. And this works the same way for law firms and for all the other businesses. People experience your brand in multiple touch points, and they gravitate toward your brand if they've seen you in multiple places. So now when I tell you that you can look at your website to understand if your TV advertising is working, maybe you can imagine it a little bit more, because if your TV advertisements are working, then more than likely people are like, ooh, I like that law firm that I saw on TV. Let me Google them. Let me go to their website. Right? Mm-hmm. So you kind of have to follow the little clues that they leave you. And there's a term called, and these are some tools that you can use. You can use CallRail to create call tracking numbers. You can use software to track things passively. But you can use attribution models, okay? You can decide right now how you're going to credit your campaigns across multiple channels together. So for example, if you are running ads on TV and you're also seeing that some of that campaign is causing a lift on your website, you can decide that whenever you see a website lead, you're going to maybe audit the calls to try to find out if it was partially due to something they might have seen on TV or a referral, and you're going to do what's called like a combination of attribution. So you're going to decide that you're going to credit maybe 30% of the sale or the case sign up to one media or the other. If you really, really, really want to get good at it, you can do it that way. If not, you can have a data analyst try to put the story together for you. So this is important to know. The average customer, the takeaway, just to kind of keep it simple, is the average customer interacts with your brands on multiple channels. So when you're analyzing data, in order to have the most accurate analysis, you have to credit attribution across multiple channels. Okay, so that's it. Super simple. The average customer journey goes through some sort of awareness. They're aware that you're out there. Maybe they don't need you yet, but they see you. They start to connect with you. This is the value that things like social media bring into our lives, right? People are watching you on social media. They're not necessarily looking for what you do, but they're connecting with you, so they're becoming aware. Then there's interest, where they click. Earlier, Adriana and I were talking about KPIs that we were going to track for a client's campaign, and we discussed that for that specific campaign, we're going to track views, which that's awareness, and then we're going to track clicks and then cost per click. So those are examples of awareness and interest. Now, evaluation is when they're considering working with you. That's when they've already placed a call and they're talking to you. Maybe they join their email list and they're deciding whether to move to the next step. Decision is when they're making a purchase, filling out a form, making an appointment. And then retention, our favorite one, is when they've already made the deal, sealed the deal, and they're a happy customer. And that also counts. A lot of people forget that the customer journey doesn't end when they become a customer. It actually has a whole life cycle where that customer can then become a referral source. They can become somebody that becomes an ambassador for your brand. They leave you a 5-star Google review. So there's a lot of marketing activities that can happen past that. So Adriana, any questions that I can answer for you? I know you're such a curious person, so I'm going to stop sharing. And if there are any questions that you're like, ooh, I'd like to know a little bit more about that, we have a couple minutes. left for questions.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I always struggle to make that connection between social media and actual clients because social media goes out to everybody. So, like, a 10-year-old on an iPad could be seeing it and they're not going to be your client, but it's going out to so many people that eventually it's building that brand.
Yeah. And I love that you made that point, and that example that you gave about, like, my son uses my phone all the time, and I bet you he sees lawyer ads because I click on lawyer ads because of what I do. And he's such a waste of a click, right? So this is why it's important to, you might have not have caught the last lesson, but we talked about frequency, right?
Mhm.
You need frequency. It's not enough just to reach people on social media or on an ad, even if you're targeting the right audience, because it can get a little bit messy. People are distracted. Maybe people didn't understand what you did with the first, commercial that they saw or the first ad. So it's important to just do it over and over. And that's another plus for having a multi-marketing channel strategy, for sure. You want to have social media, but if you're relying just on social media, you might be missing out, right? That's why you want to have a website. That's why you want to have maybe a billboard or something else. So yeah.
Yeah, so you're monitoring the cost per clicks.
Exactly. And if you do it right, if you have a good messaging has a lot to do with it. Messaging really can make a difference with your cost per click. I don't know if you remember earlier, I was joking with our vendor that I was like, oh, it's because of the beautiful creative that we're getting such a low cost per click, because one of our designers helped them with it, right? And he laughed, but at the same time he was like, yeah, no, for real, it did help. Like, the creative has a lot to do with it, because if you're reaching the right people with the right message, that's what you want. So when you have something that's not working and you have a high cost per click, you need to see, is it my message? Is it the targeting, or what's going on there? So those are ways that you can diagnose. But yeah. Super fun, easy. Thank you so much, Adriana, for joining at the last minute. So I do this. This is how I am. I did this last week with Barbara, by the way, and then I did this with you. Thank you for being a trooper. And by the way, if you all are watching and you're going to be at Will by Betty, and why are we both in pink? Is it because we're getting ready for the conference, right?
So
I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. I woke up and I was like, I'm wear pink today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think subconsciously I'm like getting all hyped up. We'll see you at Will by Betty in New Orleans, an amazing legal conference, a conference for females. Huge shout out to Betty Aquino, who put this together. I'm so excited. And hopefully if you're watching, we'll see you there. And then if you're not, we'll see you there next time, because she has it every year. So
yep, excited.
Awesome. Thanks, guys, for joining. And if you want to book a coffee, we'll put up the QR code here in a second, and just hit us up. Happy to answer questions and give you a one-on-one.
Law firm owners, are you as tired as we are of magic bullet marketing solutions that we all know don't work? Let's talk about it over a virtual coffee. At Marketing Boss, we believe business owners deserve more than off-the-shelf services. You need a custom strategy that's tailored to your firm's goals and revenue targets. We provide that at Marketing Boss. So, book a free virtual coffee with us and let's discuss how we can reduce your stress and free up your time with our unique marketing leadership solution. Your marketing should be as dependable as your legal expertise. So schedule your virtual coffee today and discover the clarity and peace of mind you deserve.